continue where we ended off last time, which was, I believe, on question 8. In the summer of 1911, the explorer Hiram Bingham III bushwhacked his way to a high ridge in the Andes of Peru and beheld a dreamscape out of the past. There, set against looming peaks cloaked in snow and wreathed in clouds, was Machu Picchu, the famous lost city of the Incas. This expression, popularized by Bingham, served as a magical elixir for rundown imaginations. The words evoked the romanticism of exploration and archaeology at the time, but finding Machu Picchu was easier than solving the mystery of its place in the rich and powerful Inca Empire. The imposing architecture attested to the skill and audacity of the Incas, but who had delivered at this isolated site and for what purpose? Okay, so that was a mouthful. If you didn't understand what I find helpful when reading these passages is rereading them maybe 2 or 3 times, because I'm often I'm unable to pick up the information just through a cursory glance. So I'm going to read it in my head one more time. Okay. The words magical elixir in line 7 primarily emphasize so do not look at the choices when answering these questions, because if you truly understand what the question's asking, then you don't need choices to tell you what the answer is. So let's look at line 7. Okay. So let's read the 2 or 3 of sentences above and below for the context. There, set against looming peaks cloaked in snow and wreathed in clouds, was Machu Picchu, the famous lost city of the Incas. This expression, popularized by Bingham, served as a magical elixir for run-down imaginations. The words evoked the romanticism of exploration and archaeology at the time. Okay, this served as a magical elixir. Well, what do we know elixir is? It's like a potion. Let me just double check. It's like a magical potion. Yes, a magical or medicinal potion. I'm correct. So it has a positive connotation, and these words, magical elixir, it kind of hints that the phrasing lost city served as like a remedy for, or a kind of quick fix or cure for evoking all this the fantasy of exploration. So let's see what choices emphasize that. A motivation for an expedition, captivating the power of a phrase, inspiration behind a discovery, creative dimension of archaeology, and E, complexity of an expression. Okay, let's just run down the choices. A motivation for an expedition. Nowhere is it hinted that people are trying to actively pursue a journey. Captivating the power of phrase, that is a possible choice, because if we look at the next sentence, it says the words evoked, so it's just the power of the phrase. C, inspiration behind a discovery. It doesn't mention anything about Bingham's motives behind discovering, so that's not a possible choice. In creative dimension of archaeology, that's just a complex set of words that have nothing to do with really what the question's asking. And complexity of an expression. Yes, it's talking about the expression, but like we mentioned, it's not talking about the complexity of it, but it's talking about the magic of it. So B is the correct choice. Next time I think I should write more. Oh yeah, there we go. So B is the correct choice. Wow, that's a terrible. Oh, sorry. Maybe I should make it bigger screen next time. Hopefully this helps. Yeah, there we go. Significantly more control. Okay, let's look at the next question. The mystery discussed in lines 10 through 13 is most analogous to that they encountered. The mystery discussed in lines 10 through 13 is most analogous to that encountered in which of the following situations. So this is kind of stretching the context, but you need to understand what the context they're asking first. So let's read lines 10 through 13. The words evoke the romanticism of exploration and archaeology at the time, but finding Machu Picchu was easier than solving the mystery of its place in the rich and powerful Inca Empire. The imposing architecture attested to the skill and audacity of the Incas, but who had lived in this isolated site and for what purpose? So the question was asking, the mystery is most similar to what among the choices? So what is this mystery about? It's saying that discovering the Machu Picchu was easier than understanding historical context, understanding the rich history of its past is. So let's see which choices are similar to that. Being unable to locate the source of materials used to construct an ancient place. The mystery they're talking about is not so much the physical mystery, but more like the sociological mystery that led to its construction. And this is, so I would say this is not a good choice. Being unable to reconcile archaeological evidence with mythical descriptions of an ancient city. So this is saying that the theory doesn't match the practical implementation of the construction. So maybe that the text suggested that they would have buildings with windows in them because they wanted more sunlight to bring in holy spirits, and maybe all these buildings are made out of clay and have no windows. So this is similarly not a good choice. Being unable to explain how ancient peoples constructed imposing monuments using only primitive technology. Being unable to understand the religious function of a chamber found inside an ancient temple. Being unable to discover any trace of a civilization. Okay, so now what I just realized is that all of these are fairly similar. So I'm just gonna... I wish I could make it bigger. Okay, so let's differentiate let's differentiate all the choices because they're fairly similar. A, it talks about the physical context. This one talks about, I mean, if you notice, all the choices have being unable, which suggests that it's a mystery. Reconcile archaeological evidence with mythical descriptions. Actually, this has some sociological context. Unable to describe. This also sociological. Being unable to understand the religious function of a chamber. I would also say this is sociological. Being unable to discover any trace of a civilization. The reason why this choice wouldn't work is because if you look at the passage again, it mentions that, but who had lived in this isolated place and for what purpose? The reason why that wouldn't work is because if you notice the previous sentence before that sentence, the imposing architecture attested to the skill and audacity of the Incas. In the passage they already tell you they know who was responsible for these constructions. So a choice that would mention that they can't discover any trace of a civilization doesn't match up with what the passage is saying. So this choice is wrong. This choice is also wrong. So we're left with B, C, and D. So what mystery are they talking about in the passage? Being unable to reconcile the archaeological evidence with mythical descriptions, being unable to explain how ancient people constructed imposing monuments using only primitive technology, being unable to understand the religious function. Solving the mystery of its place in the rich and powerful Inca Empire. The imposing architecture attested to the skill of the people, but who had lived? Okay, so B is the correct choice, and I'll tell you why. Being unable to reconcile archaeological evidence with mythical descriptions of an ancient city. If you remember in this passage, the mystery is talking about how they discovered the place, but now they're trying to connect this physical place with its historical roots. And so B, the choice B, is the most it most resembles that mystery that the word mystery was supposed to represent. So being unable to reconcile the archaeological evidence, that the monuments, the constructions, with mythical descriptions of an ancient city. So they have they know who the people are, the Incas, and so now they're just trying to understand how the people lived in that society. I'm going to stop the video right now.